Alexander the Great, a name that echoes through history, was born to King Philip II and Queen Olympias of Macedonia in 356 BC. His birth was not an ordinary event. His mother Olympias dreamt of a mighty lightning bolt on the eve of his birth, a divine sign that her son was to be more than just a king. His father, King Philip II, was not to be outdone. He had a vision of the seal of Dionysus, the god of wine and ecstasy, imprinted on Olympias's womb. To the ancient Macedonians, Dionysus was a symbol of liberation and divine favor. These omens, combined with the royal lineage of his parents, set the stage for Alexander's life. It was as if the gods themselves had a grand plan for this child. Even at his birth, it seemed that Alexander was marked for extraordinary feats. Alexander's upbringing was steeped in learning, warfare, and the assertion of power. This young Macedonian prince was tutored by none other than the renowned philosopher Aristotle. It was under Aristotle's watchful eye that Alexander received a comprehensive education, studying everything from philosophy and ethics to politics and natural sciences. This education would later become the bedrock of his leadership, shaping his views on governance, strategy, and diplomacy. But Alexander's education was not confined to the classroom. From a tender age, he was exposed to the realities of warfare, learning the art of battle from his father, King Philip II. Philip, a seasoned warrior, instilled in his son the importance of military strategy, discipline, and the unyielding will to win. Alexander, showing promise as a soldier, would lead his first military expedition at the tender age of 16. Alexander's ascension to the throne, however, was mired in tragedy. His father, King Philip II, was assassinated, thrusting the young prince into the limelight at the age of 20. Yet, in the face of adversity, Alexander displayed a maturity and resolve beyond his years. He swiftly consolidated his power, quelling any opposition to his rule within Macedonia, and setting his sights on the vast Persian Empire. In these early years of his life, two influential figures shaped Alexander's path. His mother, Olympias, was a woman of immense ambition who instilled in him the belief that he was destined for greatness. His father, on the other hand, left him a legacy of a strong and united Macedonia, providing the perfect launchpad for his future conquests. By the age of 20, Alexander was poised to rule and ready to conquer. His education under Aristotle, his military training under his father, and the influence of his ambitious mother had all converged to shape him into a formidable leader. But little did the world know, the story of Alexander the Great was only just beginning. Alexander's reign began with a swift and decisive consolidation of power. From the moment he took the throne, he wasted no time in asserting his authority. The young king, barely 20 years old, faced a slew of rebellions and uprisings, yet with a blend of tactical brilliance and sheer audacity, he crushed these revolts one by one, demonstrating to all that his rule was not to be challenged lightly. He then turned his attention to securing his borders, fortifying his defenses, and ensuring the stability of his kingdom. This was a critical step, a necessary precursor to the grand campaign he had in mind. For Alexander had set his sights on a target far more ambitious than the mere consolidation of his father's kingdom. He aimed for nothing less than the conquest of the Persian Empire, the greatest power of his time. The campaign against Persia began with a series of stunning victories. However, Alexander's true test of leadership and military prowess came during the Battle of Issus. Here, he faced the Persian king Darius III, who commanded an army vastly superior in numbers. Yet Alexander, with his disciplined phalanxes and innovative tactics, turned the tables on the Persians, routing their forces and sending Darius fleeing from the battlefield. The siege of Tyre was another testament to Alexander's determination and strategic brilliance. Despite the city's formidable defenses and its location on an island, Alexander managed to breach its walls after a grueling 7-month siege. This victory not only demonstrated Alexander's tenacity, but also marked the beginning of his unchallenged rule over the Eastern Mediterranean. In a remarkably short time, Alexander had proven himself a formidable conqueror. His swift and decisive actions upon taking the throne His victories against rebellious factions and his triumphs over the Persian Empire all served to establish his reputation as one of history's most successful military leaders. In the span of few years, he had transformed from a young king with a precarious hold on his kingdom to a conqueror whose fame and power resonated across the known world. Alexander's thirst for conquest was unquenchable. With Persia under his control, he cast his gaze further afield. His next destination? Egypt, a land of ancient wonders and timeless mysteries. In the year 332 BCE, Alexander entered Egypt not as a conqueror but as a liberator, freeing the Egyptians from the oppressive rule of the Persians. His charisma and strategic genius won the hearts of the people, and they hailed him as their pharaoh. But Alexander wasn't just content with being a ruler, he was a visionary. He dreamt of a city that would bear his name, a city that would become a beacon of culture, knowledge, and trade. And so, on the shores of the Mediterranean, Alexandria was born. Today it stands as a testament to his grand vision. Yet Alexander's ambition was not satiated. He looked eastward, towards the exotic lands of India. But India proved to be a different beast. The mighty rivers, dense forests, and fierce warriors posed challenges that Alexander had not encountered before. Despite these hurdles, his strategic brilliance shone through as he adapted to the new terrains and tactics. The Battle of the Hydaspes River was a turning point. Pitted against King Porus, one of the most powerful Indian rulers, Alexander's troops faced elephants in battle for the first time, yet they emerged victorious. Alexander's respect for Porus's bravery and resilience was so great that he returned the kingdom to him. A rare gesture of magnanimity. However, the hardships of the Indian campaign took a toll on his troops. They longed for their homes and families. Listening to their pleas, Alexander decided to turn back, marking the end of his eastward expansion. Alexander's empire stretched from Greece to Egypt and as far east as India, an unprecedented accomplishment. His relentless pursuit of glory, his strategic acumen, and his indomitable spirit etched his name in the annals of history as one of the greatest conquerors the world has ever seen. Despite his great success, Alexander's final years were marked by loss, rebellion, and disillusionment. His unstoppable march across the continents began to falter, and the cracks in his empire started to show. In the heart of his reign, a mutiny among his troops sparked a chain of events that shook the very foundations of his power. His men, weary from years of relentless campaigning, yearned for the comforts of home. Their loyalty wavered, their resolve weakened. The once indomitable force that had toppled empires was now a simmering cauldron of discontent. Adding to his woes was the loss of his closest friend and confidant, Hephaestion. This was a blow that struck deep into Alexander's heart. Their bond, forged in the crucible of battle and conquest, was more than just camaraderie. It was a brotherhood. His death left a void in Alexander's life that could not be filled. And then there was his increasingly erratic behavior. The once level-headed and strategic leader now seemed unpredictable, even to his closest advisors. His decisions became more impulsive, his actions more reckless. A sense of unease began to spread throughout his court. Alexander's greatest challenge, however, lay in his ambitious attempts to integrate his multicultural empire. A noble endeavor, it was met with resistance from both his Macedonian troops and the diverse cultures under his rule. His vision of unity, of a world where Macedonians and Persians could coexist, seemed to be slipping through his fingers. His attempts to adopt Persian customs and practices were seen as a betrayal by his Macedonian troops, while the Persians viewed his efforts as an imposition. The cultural chasm proved too wide to bridge, and his dream of a united empire began to crumble. The invincible conqueror seemed to be losing his grip on his vast empire. The man who had once stood atop the world looking down upon his conquered lands was now teetering on the brink of his own downfall. In 323 BC, Alexander the Great met an end as enigmatic as his life. The city of Babylon, once a jewel in the crown of his sprawling empire, became the stage for his sudden and mysterious departure from this world. The young conqueror, not yet 33, was stricken by a sudden illness. Day by day, his condition worsened, his once vibrant energy fading into a mere whisper of the commander he once was. Despite the best efforts of his physicians, Alexander the Great, the man who had brought the world to its knees, was himself brought low. His death sent shockwaves through the ancient world. The great conqueror, the unstoppable force, had been stopped not by swords or spears, but by the invisible hand of disease. The empire he'd carved with blood and iron was left without a clear successor, a reality that soon spiraled into chaos. In the wake of his death, Alexander's generals, the Diadochi, scrambled for power. His vast empire, stretching from Greece to Egypt and far-off India, fragmented into warring factions. Each general claimed a piece of the empire, and the era of Alexander's unified rule came to a shattering end. Yet even as his empire crumbled, Alexander's impact on the ancient world was undeniable. He had spread Greek culture far and wide, igniting a period of Hellenistic influence that would shape civilizations to come. He had proven that the world was larger, more diverse, and more interconnected than anyone had dared to imagine. In his wake, he left a world utterly transformed. Cities bore his name, cultures bore his imprint, and history bore his legacy. His influence reached far beyond his empire's borders and far beyond his own lifetime. Thus ended the reign of Alexander the Great, a man whose legend continues to live on, shaping our understanding of the ancient world. His life, his conquests, and his death marked the end of an era, but the beginning of a legend that still resonates today.